Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Friday, January 10th, 2025. How many people are being correct in what year they're in? And I know it's been a couple of months since I've been here. I've been meaning to make a video, especially this week. And then, sometimes, especially for someone like me that is not, a very regular, like every 2 weeks or every, first of the month or something like that. Sometimes motivation gets a little hard. I know there's plenty of people like me that during the winter months, less daylight and everything, I'm, one of those people that has a hard time. But it's been on my mind to come back to be a part of this community. I know also that when you haven't made a video in a while, YouTube isn't likely to promote your video to other people, even if they're subscribers. Anything you can do to help me out, which is to say to comment, to subscribe, all that stuff, would be greatly appreciated. I love sharing in this community. I wish I did it more often, but I enjoy whatever interactions I can have. So I wanted to come and check in with you all. I meant to check let me bring it up right now. It is a balmy 36 degrees outside right now in central New Jersey where I am. And I say that because the last 2 or 3 days, I don't think it's been out of the 20s. But I also want to say what I'm really been feeling a lot the last couple of days, which is, and I just need to put it out there, the fires that are going on in LA right now, and the images and the devastation. And it's hitting home in a different way. I have a friend, older friend who lives there. She and her husband retired out there. I have their address. I can see that they're close to one of the evacuation areas, although I keep refreshing the screen, not there yet. I haven't been able to get in touch with her, which doesn't surprise me. Of all the people she would need to stay in touch with, her friend from the East Coast may not be. I know she has her daughter that lives in the area, though I don't know whether it'd be better or worse to go wherever her daughter is. Anyway, when you have something, even if it's a small little something that is connected to a major horrific event going on, it just brings it home. So if you know anyone in that area, I hope they're able to stay safe. If you are somebody who has the ability to help out, whether it's donating to a charity that's working or whatever, if you're local, to be able to contribute items of need. If you are living in the area, number one, I'm really not expecting you to be watching a Flosstube right now. That said, if you are somewhere safe and you've turned to Flosstube for distraction, well, I certainly hope I can provide that. So just keep those folks who are being greatly affected by that particular horrific disaster in your thoughts, as I have been over the last few days. So that's the current events portion of today's Flosstube. Let's move forward. And I was thinking this morning, because it had been quite some time, I'm going to start out here by saying there's going to be a giveaway as part of this video. Going to make you watch just a little bit, just so that you know what to do. But I don't know. It's sort of like a simple way I could say thank you to those who swing by and hang out with me for a visit. I usually start with this, but let me jump in right now. I'm a designer. I'm a cross-stitch designer. I work under the name Works by ABC because my initials are ABC. And one of the things that really got me going of I need to get a video out is all the work I've been doing leading up to Nashville. And I meant to count it out. I think it's 7 weeks away. It's either 7 or 8 weeks. No, I think it's 7 weeks away, which is, there's a lot of folks that are exhibiting that are in high gear. And the teacher in me always wants to acknowledge that not everyone knows what you're talking about. So just very briefly, if you've never heard Nashville, besides from the fact that it's a city in Tennessee, once a year at the beginning of March, there is a very large, the event of a wholesale market. So it's not like anyone can just go shopping. It is where exhibitors, mostly designers, but also, thread companies and fabric companies and so on, exhibit, and store owners come and purchase in person right there and then. It's called a cash and carry market. So it's not so much ordering, although it sometimes happens. It is, the designers and the exhibitors show up with very full suitcases and boxes and everything. And the store owners show up with empty suitcases and boxes. And in the end, the goal would be designers have had such a great weekend that they're going home with empty boxes, or not even bringing the empty boxes, and the store owners are going home with lots of goodies to share with their customers. So, in a lot of ways, and I remember learning about this will be my 4th year exhibiting. I remember learning just in conversations the first year or so with those who are new to the Nashville world. There's an element of I'm not going to say planning all year, but maybe, shall we say, saving your best for Nashville, because it could be seen in person. And I think we could all agree, when you see something in person, it makes such a difference. You could have the best picture in the world on the front of a pattern, and it's even that much better if you could see it in person. So when you are able to talk with store owners and they can see your work, it makes a difference. So in some ways, I could say that I'm trying to think what I've been working on that will be Nashville releases. I suppose one of them I had actually started maybe back in May or so. It hasn't been consistent. I mean, I've been working on other things. So I decided today I was going to give some sneak peek hints of my new designs. I know maybe it was my last video, I talked about how I don't do videos very often because I don't have things to show often, because I stitch all of my own models. And I usually don't want to give it away until I have a finished thing to show you. And I just sort of, mused in that video, well, what would be a negative about doing that? And pros and cons, all kinds of things about that. But I thought, so my plan is, I don't think it's going to change at this point, that I will have 7 new releases at Nashville. And I started brainstorming. I'm like, you know what? I could come up with a hint for all 7 of them. So let's do this. Let's have fun with it. I wrote down this list to remind myself, and I wasn't really thinking in any particular order. So for keeping myself organized, I'm going to go with this order. So the first hint, I have over the years done these lace designs, which I love doing. They're usually based on lace pieces that I've collected. In a separate world, I also do bobbin lace, which I haven't done a lot in a while, but I want to come back to it. And that's what inspired originally my lace interest and how to cross stitch with it. And the last couple of years at Nashville, I have come out with lace designs that have been incredibly popular. But over the last couple of years especially, I hear the same piece of feedback. Arlene, that's beautiful. But whether it's customers or myself, but I'll never stitch something that large. Something like that. And that's true. And I've certainly made the point that you don't have to, when you see a whole large design, mine or anyone else's, you can just stitch a small part of it. And actually last year, the big piece that I did, which was on purple fabric called Majestic Lace, I actually purposely stitched separately one little motif to show people that it's a beautiful little design. Anyway, that feedback has stuck in the back of my mind. Back, I don't know when, summer, I had a plan for a new lace piece for this year. And then I was somewhere, and again, that comment came up, and I said, you know what? I'm going to rethink this. So this year, I am coming out with a lace piece at Nashville, and it's going to be on the smaller side. And when I went back to look, well, when have I done a smaller piece? This piece right here, which is called Flower Lace, was sort of my first lace piece. And I say sort of because the first piece that I call my lace piece was a design I had in just cross stitch. I'm pretty sure it was June of 2019. I think that was the issue. It's actually on the front cover, which was such a thrill to me. And because I loved doing that got me inspired. And I started with this small one. And this one still sells every now and then. But my sizes have greatly expanded. If you're interested in purchasing this, it is in my Etsy store. I'll put a link down below. I sell both PDF copies and printed copies. So just so that you know, one of my new designs for Nashville will be a lace piece. Not quite this small, but definitely on the smaller side if that is something that might interest you. Next, I gotta come up with a better system. I got a mess going on here today. Another thing I've done, I did last year and years before, but is a series that I've done that I call my repeating motif designs. Last year, I came out, this was a Nashville design last year. Oh wait, did I say that flower lace was like 2019 or 2020? Just saying, because this was last year, 2024. And if you look, I got to do a better lighting thing here. Maybe you could see better in this pink. There's a motif. See that diamond shape? It just keeps repeating. But it's all about where you use the colors to get the image. So this is cherry blossoms inspired by springtime and loving the cherry blossom season. And so there will be a new repeating motif design coming out at Nashville. And I'll just say, think spring. Just like this one made me think spring, I kept with the spring theme. Next on my list, I couldn't really think of a good item to hold up to give you a hint, but this is good enough. I'm gonna, and I don't think I had it in my possession at that time. I was gonna say maybe I talked about some last video. I don't think. So another one of my new designs is using ThreadWorks thread, and in particular, I wanted to show you, and I need a piece of white paper. Hopefully you can see this. Maybe not. So ThreadWorks, this particular blue ThreadWorks has this wonderful variegation. And wonderful variegation can mean different things for different people. Part of this new design, I was looking for blue variegated, and variegated that would show up pretty clearly in that there are clearly some light blues and some dark blues in it. And in case you're interested, this ThreadWorks is called Royal Blue. Just so you know, this thread, it tends to be known more for its numbers than its name. You could go online and look up a name, but so this number is 10151. ThreadWorks, which I've recently been learning more and more about, it's going to come back in a second Nashville release sneak peek, sells all their cotton threads in either 5-yard or 20-yard skeins. 20 yards, I forget what your typical price is for this, but it's a really good deal. And their numbering system, so this is 10151. The 5-yard skein for Royal Blue is 10151. So it can get confusing. But if you can get past the momentary confusing of numbers and names, there are some beautiful threads to use. So there are other thread works in the design. I think it's a total of 7. Don't quote me on that. But I particularly loved the blue, and I wanted to share that with you. All right, I've already gone outside my list. That's okay. I just got to keep track of things. The next sneak peek. Hint, back in, I'm trying to think of what video I would have talked about. I know it happened in June. I went to see an amazing exhibit at the American Art Museum in Washington, D.C., and it was about Amish quilts. And I'm sure I showed this book at, again, June, early July video, whatever I was talking about it, Pattern and Paradox, the Quilts of Amish Women. And I have been familiar with the Amish culture, communities, for a very long time, related to some work and some dear friends that my school has, the school I was at for many years, with an Amish family and Amish community. Long story short, I've been familiar with the quilts and the aesthetic that comes from them. So seeing this exhibit was just phenomenal. And let's just say there's a quilt in here that was in the exhibit. It's also in the book. And it's one of these bookmarks. That completely inspired me to create a cross-stitch design. So I'm in my official full Nashville reveals, I will talk more about the quilt and how that all came to be, as I will with all of them. But there's your hint. It's Amish quilt inspired. I am a designer that loves to share, if there's a story behind a design, where there often is, I love to share that. If there's a particular inspiration, I love to share that. I won't say 100% of the time I have something to say, but a lot of times I do. And I love it when I'm looking at other designs or patterns I own or whatever, and I could see somewhere, somehow, what the designer was thinking or what they were inspired by. So I put that out there in both my videos when I'm talking about it, and certainly on patterns when I can. Just assuming there's probably other people out there that are like me and enjoy. And I know that some people have definitely responded very positively to knowing the inspirations behind this pattern or that pattern. Okay, next up, what order am I doing things in? Now let me do this first. So, gotta count years out. 2022, there was a collaborative project, and it is under the name X Stitch the Rainbow. But that's the overall name, and for the years that has gone on, there is a thread company that works with designers, and there's 20 to 25 designers that all agree to use the same 4 threads and nothing more than that to create designs that I think all the times it's been a limit to 60 by 60 stitches. And it's been so well received in the cross stitch community, especially, if you buy the thread pack, you would have lots of thread to stitch multiple of the designs if you're interested. So in the fall of the online marketplace that was in August of 2022, there was a theme of autumn garden. So again, X Stitch the Rainbow in 2022 had the theme of autumn garden, and it involved using cottage garden threads. And it was my first time using them. There was 4 threads, so you can see the yellow, the green, the orange, and this variegated one. And this was my design, and I forget if I put any more of a name on it than Autumn Garden. It is available in my Etsy store if it's something that appeals to you. You can probably still find thread packs of Cottage Garden somewhere, but don't quote me on that. And then in 2023, which happened at Nashville, X Stitch the Rainbow had a theme of tea time, and that was with Treenway silks. So again, 4 silk threads you can buy as a thread pack, and you can stitch multiple designs. When I was trying to figure out, oh, did I say it already? The theme was tea time, like a cup of tea. And I drink a lot of tea, so I like that. And I got it in my head that I wanted to do something with a quote. And I boiled down to 2 quotes. A cup of tea is a cup of peace, which can often be the case, especially on a cold winter day for me. And then another quote was, "There is no trouble so great or grave that cannot be much diminished by a nice cup of tea." No one is saying tea is going to solve anything. It can be diminished. Anyway, so I had these 2 quotes, and I liked both of them. So for tea time, I actually came out with 2 designs. And you can see the 4 the 4 threads. Let's see, there's the one that's showing up very white. It's actually a beautiful, like, white, silvery overdyed. There's a pink, there's a green, and then there's that dark burgundy. And actually, I liked the challenge of stitching on a dark color fabric. And then through some silly comment that a friend of mine made, I actually stitched it 2 times using a tea towel. Their towels are out there that people cross stitch on, and I suppose they are more decorative than used. But anyway, so I stitched the dark fabric version on an actual tea towel using what do you call that stuff that you can like pull away? You stitch on it and then you pull all the threads out anyway. So and all of these, the Autumn Garden and the Tea Time patterns, are still available in my Etsy store. So this year, we took a break in 2024, but it is coming back strong in 2025, released at Nashville. There's 25 designers that have signed on, each stitching with the same 4 threads, which will be sold as thread packs. And it has been announced that the thread company that's being used this year is Threadworks. So like I said, I'm becoming more well-known of Threadworks. And then when the X Stitch the Rainbow happened, I was like, that's cool. So I'm filming this on Friday, January 10th. Just yesterday was released the company that was being used and the 4 thread colors. And a piece of paper. So these are the 4 threads that are part of this year's X Stitch the Rainbow. Now this is not the same blue. This is a sort of a deeper blue. Sorry. This is that blue. You could probably, where am I? You could probably tell it's not the same blue. And the green, it's looking gray. It's very much more lavender. And this like neutral beige light color. All of them, and maybe white is not the best background. I gotta come up with a different system. I've learned this, that sometimes white doesn't help show the best background colors. Ooh, do I have anything here? Oh, I might. Let's see if this may or may not make it better. Let's see. I don't know how much that makes it better. I've also like the lighting I have on for the video. Anyway, so these 4 colors will be used. Now, again, as of the timing of this, I believe tomorrow, Saturday, which you may be watching it this weekend, it will be announced the theme. And I checked in and confirmed it wasn't going to happen before my video. I'm like, you know what? I've been putting off the video long enough. I'll be able to show them the threads and let them know it's Threadworks this year. And the thread packs are, I'm almost 100%, I'm almost 99% positive of what I'm saying here. The thread packs are going to be the 20-yard skeins. So you have, number one, I mean, you could easily stitch all 25 designs if you wanted to, but you'll also have some beautiful Threadworks threads left over to play with. I love that this year all 4 of them have subtle variegation, meaning there are some threads, and I don't have anything to show up here right now, that are from the weeks, the General Arts, the overdyed companies, and they're just really subtly, like maybe you can see some variation, but much more on the solid side. And then there's some that are quite variegated, like the cottage garden thread that was used here. And I would call all 3 of these somewhere in between. And my experience with Threadworks, which included the pinwheel design I did in the summer, which I loved. Ooh, and if I'm remembering correctly, this is that color. I meant to double. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. This purple, I should have had that piece out to show you. I'll have to remember that for next time. I just have loved of the Threadworks threads that I have chosen to use in the designs I have used them in, including that pinwheel design, the Hanukkah design I came out with in November of this year, the one that's going to be here at Nashville. I have just loved the way the threads I've chosen, the variegation plays out. So there you go. This year's X Stitch the Rainbow theme, not yet released, but might be by the time you watch this, will involve these 4 threads from Threadworks. So I am excited that I am again participating in that. All right, I should have been like marking these off. Did that. Okay. The next one, my little sneak peek hint. I don't know how else to say this. This design continues to be my far and away bestseller this is 324, which I came out with at Nashville last year. It's still to this day. There are so many people that have posted on Instagram about using it as their New Year, New Start. So I've reposted a number of things in the last few days. And there's literally a whole video associated with this, but there was a follow-up called The Sequel. And the sequel one is made up of all different kinds of stitches. It's not cross stitch. And these designs together, in conversations with designers, including some with years and years and decades of experience, it boils down to you never can predict whether something is going to be a bestseller or not. And this is certainly the case with 324. And then the story behind this is that I was stitching for myself, and I was posting about it, and there was so much interest. It's like, well, I better come out with a pattern. Again, whole video devoted to this whole topic from October, which is when I came out with this. Anyway, I'm not in any, you can't assume magic will happen twice, but let me just say this. There will be a new design at Nashville that is certainly inspired by this. So it's all I'm giving away right now. I hope you will enjoy seeing it. Well, in all my designs when they come out, but that is your sneak peek hint on that. Inspiration from 324 has been, right, that's a bad sentence. One of my new designs in Nashville, greatly inspired by 324 from 2024. All right, and then the last of my 7 that I wanted to share sneak peek hints with, I couldn't come up with a really good sneak peek hint, so I'm actually going to show you part of it. And this goes back to that thinking of positives and negatives of showing things. So this one I'm stitching on right now, and this one started out, or the inspiration, how it got. I keep a little book of all ideas, and I know this is when I put this idea on it. This is a design that was in the Just Cross Stitch Fall 2024, just a few months ago, like the issue before the Christmas issue. It's called Autumn Intertwined, and I don't remember for sure exactly how I got started in thinking about it, but once I thought about it, I knew I wanted to use variegated threads. These are weeks. Ooh, pause. If you have that issue, if you're interested in stitching it, the key in that issue is totally messed up. It's really frustrating with Just Cross Stitch. If you go on their website, you can find a corrected key, but it's not like a predominant area. Here's errors, click here. If you want to, you can go back on my Instagram because I posted a picture of the correct key. Anyway, so if you look, again, particularly the brown, so I went and used weeks. All of the threads on here are weeks. And I needed something to connect the fall colors that I'd picked out. And I found this highly variegated, and I meant to pull it out and I didn't. If you look at the outlines, you can see a thread that is green and brown and a little orange. And it was like, that goes right together. And actually, in my collection of weeks, I admit I keep those highly variegated ones like on their own ring, thinking I'm never going to use that. And it was because I went looking for another fall color to kind of pull this design together and said, well, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And I love how it pulled it all together. Like, to me, it was like, I have figured out a way that I'm liking how to use a highly variegated thread. So that idea went on my idea list, and I started thinking about it. And it's an unusual thing where I sort of picked out some threads before I really came up with the design. So went through a few options and decided on this again. Let's see, this week's thread, which is called Bethlehem. And I think you could tell, maybe you can't see the exact colors, but it's definitely highly variegated. There's purple, there's blue, there's a pink, there's like a greenish neutral kind of thing. There's only like a yard of it left, so it's I'm waiting for more to show up, and cross your fingers it shows up in today's mail, because I need more. So I was like, here's my little challenge. How can I use this? And so what I'm doing is stitching some smalls. They'll be sold together in one pattern. And I will show you, let me bring it in like this first. So here's a little design where you can see the inner outlines, maybe you can see or not see, are with that Bethlehem thread. And then there's dark blue, or a blue that matches the blue that's showing up there. And now I'm working on this one. There's the variegated thread, but all the other color is the purple that matches what's in the variegated thread. Now, if you're really observant, and I'm sorry that the light is just awful, this one, if you look at the outer border, on the inside of the outer border is that variegated thread, and then the most outer border is the blue. And when I was working on this one, and the inside is not done, but I was thinking about that border and not on the blue, not crazy, liking it. And so this time I tried stitching the purple on the inside and the variegated on the outside, and I like this a lot better. So I will be pulling out the border here and redoing it. And then the other piece, when you use a variegated thread, especially one like Weeks, unlike, like the DMC variegated ones, which are you could count the number of inches almost of different chunks of color. These are variegated. And it just so happened the yard and a half that I was using here did not have as much pink as the yard and a half I was using here. So I mean, yes, I wanted sort of the experiment of pulling one color from a highly variegated thread. But that doesn't mean even and you can see the circles are different. They're similar, but they are purposely different. And I'm just having a good time playing with the color idea. There will be three, maybe four of these, kind of depends on a few factors. So there you go. You can look forward to a couple of smalls. I have no idea what to name this. If you have any suggestions of, like, in my brain, I'm just calling them little rounds, which will not be the title, but I need in my brain, oh, I'm working on little rounds tonight or whatever. So was that all? There we go. Those were the 7 sneak peek hints for my 7 new Nashville releases. Just a couple of other things that I thought I would share with you since we are together here. I was looking back at my records, notes, IG posts, whatever you want to call, all of the above, and realizing that this time of year, January into February, even into March, over the last few years have been a time that I've stepped a little bit away from cross stitch stitching and focused a little bit more on some of my other loves of stitching. If you've been around, well, if you've been around, but if you haven't, I love stitching all different types of needlework. Certainly that the sequel design gives you some sense of, and I haven't done as much of that in the years that I've been as a designer as I did before. Like if you saw all the needlework that I've hanging in my home, most of which is not my own designs. Like the ones that are my own designs are part of my Works by ABC stuff, which most of them are not hanging up because I bring them places. Anyway, you would see black work, you would see canvas work, you'd see hardang, or you'd see a little bit of everything. Well, a bunch of things. So I just wanted to share with you when I'm done with my Nashville cross stitch model stitching. I have some thoughts on what I might work on, at least for a little bit of time, that I thought I would share with you. I don't remember if I have in any way shown you this embroidery project. I purchased it from the French needle. I'm looking at the thing here. It's called Cascade. I saw some pictures on Instagram which were, somebody stitching it, so much better. But it's all different types of embroidery stitches. And I purchased, you'd say the kit, it was the pattern plus the design pre-printed on the fabric, because I've done some embroidery designs before, not that many. The step of having to trace out the pattern on a piece of canvas or a fabric, this pretty much turned me off from a lot of I've done it, particularly with the what's her name, Trisha Burr, but there was an appeal when I saw this thing, and I was just drawn to it. Sometimes you see a picture on social media and you're like, wow, I really like that. And when I looked at the description, it is large. I don't know if I will stitch the whole thing all at once, even though I tend to be a one project at a time kind of person, sort of. But just to do something new and different. I'm holding it kind of funny because I actually stitched, sewing machine stitch on an extra piece of just plain fabric, because I want to put this in my scroll rods. Scroll rods like this. I could be stitching in a hoop. I could be stitching even with stretcher bars. I don't like stitching in hoops unless it's a design that completely can fit inside the hoop, because I don't like the hoop marks. And I was thinking about the stretcher bars, but I'm like, you know what? It would be too big. So I'll be putting it on scroll rods. It uses all DMC. That was the other piece about it, that I wasn't buying a full kit with the threads, which was fine because it's all DMC. So I will keep you posted on work that happens with that. And then another non-cross stitch project, and I know I've shown this before and I would love to get back to it and finish it, is this gold work sampler. Gold work is a very specific type of needlework that uses gold or metallic threads that are supposed to look like, but a lot of these are gold threads with some very specific types of threads and some very specific ways of using them. And this was a sampler kit that I bought years and years and years ago, Tanya Berlin, and I bought the kit. And I finally just last year, it might have been what I was working on like this time last year. And I paused, so this one got finished. I paused at this one because I got frustrated with how it looked. And then it becomes one of those, all right, look at it at a distance and it's perfectly fine. So I'd love to come back to it. The issue with this is I love stitching at night in front of the television, listening more than watching. This is not a front of the television kind of project. This is where I need to sit at a table. I could put on a podcast or something, but I need to sit at a table like where I am right now. And so maybe, again, when I'm at that place, I do have started in the last year or two to have a downstairs project and an upstairs project, with the upstairs project tending to be what I might work on during the daytime, particularly if I'm working with students. I'm a teacher and tutor, and I have some time in between, like I have a weird half-hour time. Come up here and do something for a half hour. So this may get set up, my setup up here, to be like my daytime project, and we'll see how far I can get with it. But I would like to finish this. So those two things. And then, okay. Remember how I mentioned a giveaway? Here's the point where you're going to pay attention. I was doing some thread work the other day with some, not thread works, but some work with threads. And one of them was the DMC color 3747. It's a very, very light blue purplish. And it reminded me of this. This is Flosh, and this was 2 or so years ago, where I talked about this. So Flosh, it is a DMC thread. It is not as common in the US in stores as so many others, partially because it only comes on these like hanks, which is like, what's the number, 200, 300 yards. So it's not ideal for a lot of cross stitch projects. It's great for monochrome, and it's thicker than one strand of DMC. It's almost about 2 strands. This Flosh is what I love using for my lace designs. It gives great coverage from my perspective of what I like as coverage. And I was at a store, it was actually a needlepoint store that had all kinds of threads, but I saw the display. They had the full line of Flosh. It does not come in all the colors that DMC Floss does. But this one jumped out at me. And again, we got a lighting issue here. But you look at it and you're like, is it gray? Is it blue? Is it light purple? It's one of those really unique ones. And I saw the DMC number was 651. And I sort of knew immediately that didn't sound like a DMC number. I felt like if it was, I would have been using it. And I go over to that DMC rack and I confirm there's no 651. I get on my phone and double check. And I remember having the conversation with the woman at the store. She had no reason to think about it. She's like, wow, that is really interesting. When I came home, I literally went thread by thread through all the Flosh that exist. Maybe it's 80, 100 colors. Don't quote me on that. This is the only one that does not come in regular floss. And so when I was randomly, for a totally another reason, picking this up and playing and using it, I was thinking, that beautiful Flosh, like, how close is that color-wise? They're not exact. I mean, I think even with the lighting here, you can see they're not exact. This one is the floss, as you hold up again, it's 3747. It makes this look bluer and makes this look more, it makes this a little even more lavender, sort of. This one looks a little bit more bluer, certainly. It's lighter. Anyway, I love playing around with this ideas of threads. If you ask me my favorite DMC colors, there's many of them. They're all in like the blue-purple category. That area is what I like. Anyway, without me confirming, definitely saying this is my favorite DMC color. If you put down below what your favorite DMC color or favorites, you can certainly list more than one, you'll be entered in a giveaway to win one of my patterns. I will probably pick 2 or 3 winners. Just if you write your DMC number favorite, I'll enter you in the giveaway. I love being able to share my designs, especially for, sometimes people just aren't able to purchase things, but you can get the chance to win them. And I am always interested in hearing about favorite DMC colors. I have not made it a secret that I am not an orange person. Like I remember, when I got involved in this autumn garden thing and I saw that orange thread, I'm like, oh my God, I have to stitch with orange. But I did. I came up with a way to use it. And even in this fall design, I knew if I'm doing fall leaves, I should probably put an orange in there. So I've like built upon that. But I know there's some people that are not in the blue purple love category and would love a good orange or yellow or something. So just share with me. I'll be curious. And I will enter you in a giveaway that for next time I will pick some winners. Any of my patterns, it will be whether you want a PDF or a paper copy. And I'll talk more about that. Last thing on here, because I don't want to forget. I got a new book. This is the RSN Royal School of Needlework Stitch Bank book. I believe I've talked about their amazing website before. I'll link it below. They have over the last few years been, I don't know how many hundreds of stitches they're up to. It is, if you want to know how to do a stitch, I mean, cross stitch, you cross stitch, okay? I think most people who are watching this Flosstube, they got the cross stitch thing down. But if you're ever encountering, sometimes you encounter even on a mostly cross stitch pattern, like a Jessica or a Lazy Daisy or something, this website will walk you through both in diagrams and in like pictures and everything. They put together a book. It is not there. There's more stitches online that are in this book, but as someone who likes books, who likes the tangible things, look at behind me. When I heard that this was coming out, I'm like, oh, I have to get it. And every so often I am trying to figure out something with a stitch, and I certainly do turn to my, they're sort of off camera here. The shelf up here is a whole lot of stitch dictionaries. That's what you might call this. And so I got it from Amazon. I love to be able to support local stores and everything. This was just the best option for me. But I'll put a link below. Again, if you just, I'm trying to do a flip through, which is kind of hard. There's also a lot of the pictures that are used are from the Royal School of Needlework's like collection. So if they're talking about this stitch, this from the 17th century, has some chain stitch in it. So so there's a bit of history in this as well. So just wanted to share, if you are someone that is into playing around or even just looking at different stitches, you might want to purchase a book, or simply I'll link the website below. Go check it out. So, all right, I'm so glad I got a chance to sit down today and get this video done. I am so glad to be back in connection with you. I'll be back next month to officially reveal my Nashville releases, which I'm looking forward to. Stay safe out there. Care about one another. Think about those who are suffering right now and anything you can do to help them. I very much appreciate you being here, especially if you're watching all the way to the end. Thank you. Till next time.